All right, well, it's 7 o'clock. So welcome everybody to the July 12th meeting of Delta Amateur Radio Club. To start off, we are meeting on Zoom only today. As it was mentioned in Sparks, there were a couple different things that went into that decision. And it was a split decision, but COVID concerns in case there was a spike from all the events last week. The heat was a big one. Because it's been consistently 99 or 100 degrees, and with everybody having to travel in and all that. And for those of you who have been to some of the meetings when the temperatures were high, it gets pretty hot in there once we start getting everybody crammed in. So it's probably going to be a lot easier to keep everybody cool at your homes versus getting everybody in that one room. And plus, it makes it a little easier with all the tech stuff, getting to play videos and everything on here. So, and then it did work out for us because we would have at the last minute had to change over because they were needing that room for a funeral tonight, apparently. So, which we hate to hear that, but we would have been looking for somewhere else last minute to have that. So I think it'll work out okay. Regardless, we're happy that everybody's here. And we have a lot going on. It seems like we kind of, the year split up into two sections. It's like getting ready for field day. And then after field day, we start getting ready for all the activities and events in the fall. So before we get into all that, we will get to the minutes and the treasurer's report. Can I get a motion?
Move that we accept the minutes and treasurer's report as posted.
All right, so I've got a motion from Dan, KN4FBJ, to accept the minutes and the treasurer's report. Is there a second? I see Lynn, W4MKS, so Lynn has a second. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Any opposed, say nay or raise your hand. All right, that unanimously passes. So next we're going to start up on announcements. Is Joe, if you're ready, do you want to go on and catch us up on training in Huntsville and anything else that you might have?
Okay. Training, we've got 9 in the class right now. We had 13 signed up and 4 of them didn't show up. So it looks like we have a class of 9. I thought it was a pretty good class. They had some questions and it was good. So that's going on Thursday nights from 6:15 to 9:30. The Huntsville bus trip, I've gotten 15 people, checks for 15 people and need another 14 in to round that out. And then I believe there's one more coming in that Dave Church grabbed him the other night on 146.535, talking about it and talked it up. And I got an email that he was sending the check in. The bus reservation is in. We can cancel it 2 weeks prior to the bus trip. And that's the bus trip. Currently it's $95. It includes the transportation, the $15 Hamfest entry fee, 2 Danvers breakfast biscuits of chicken, ham, sausage, or plain, water, sodas, cookies, and crackers on the way down during the day, and whatever is left over on the way back. We leave at 6:30 in the morning on the 20th from Germantown Baptist Church, getting down there about 9:45, leaving after the 4 o'clock drawing and getting back about 8 or 8:15. Might be a little bit earlier than that. And that's it. If anybody's interested, they need to send a check for $95 made payable to Delta Amateur Radio Club. If there's 2 in the family, 2 people living in the household, and the second wants to come also, then that's a $60 fee. We've reduced it for the second in the household. And that's it on Huntsville for right now, I believe. I just hope the spike that is starting to come around is not going to bite us again this year.
Yeah, and just to clarify too, because I know you said $95, but if somebody signed up ahead of time before the end of June, it would still be $85 for them, correct? If they
yeah, they know that.
With you.
I've sent them emails to send the check. So, yep, I've got 14 people that need to send the check in, that I need to receive checks from. And that's all.
Good deal. Does anybody have any questions about either the training classes or Huntsville? Okay. Well, I know with Huntsville next month, now I'm sure we'll have a lot more that come out or a lot more information announced as we get a little bit closer. And I know the website for the Huntsville Hamfest, they'll start adding in any last minute information on there as well. So make sure you get your money in. And if you are interested still in going, don't hesitate to reach out to Joe or anybody else to ask about it. So we'd love to have you. All right. I don't think Daryl Sheffield is on, but the Mississippi Rock and Ride 150, that's normally it's scheduled, I think, for September 10th and 11th. It's the bike race that we normally help out with radio communications for. There is a meeting on July 14th that he is going to be attending. So hopefully a lot more information will come out after that meeting. So by next month's membership meeting, we should have some more information. So just keep that in the back of your head. And then the same thing with the Bluff City Blues bike ride. It's scheduled for October 8th. We normally help out with that as well. And that's something we're not quite, we don't have quite all the details yet, but I'm sure in the next month or two we will. So if I think, several of you know, we've had a lot of folks who are on here right now participate in those events. If you are new or if you haven't quite made it out to one of those are great opportunities to test your radio communication skills. You can test your setup. It's a fun time to test your Go Box or your radios, see how well you can get into the repeaters, especially when it comes into these kind of bike rides. When you're dealing with a larger area, you can kind of see how your equipment handles in the different terrain and everything. So it's certainly a good opportunity to kind of take field day to the next level when you're on the road. Does anybody have any questions about either of those two events? All right. So something else that we talked about at a previous meeting, the ARRL membership renewal, where the club could get commission. We had some interest in it, and we talked about it during the board meeting. And considering how much work would go into it for just $5, and we're not quite sure. We don't want to overcommit to doing a lot until we kind of test out the water. So what we're going to do to start off is Joe volunteered to kind of run like a test trial and process any new ARRL membership forms through that commission program that go alongside his classes. So because the new memberships for that would be $15 back to the club, while the renewals will be just $5. And so it'll be kind of a smaller batch, but it should kind of give us a chance to see how it goes and see if that's something we want to expand on to open to renewals later, or if we just want to leave it at that. So if you are currently in ARRL, I would encourage you to go on and if your membership has come due, go on and renew as you normally would, because I'm not sure how long we're going to kind of test this, or if we would take it to the next level. So certainly I want to encourage you, if it's about to expire or if it has, go on and renew your membership with ARRL, and we'll let you know if anything changes later on. Does anybody have any questions about that? Hey, Joe, you're muted.
If it's a multiple year membership for renewal, it's still only $5.
Mm-hmm. And that was part of it too. It sounds like several of you guys will renew for the 3-year membership. And so, again, we will only get 5. And for that much effort, we didn't feel like it was worth the commitment at the moment. And again, maybe later on, after we kind of figure out the program, then that may change. But for now, we're just going to do the new memberships with the class.
Also, everybody on, put in your call sign, please.
Yes.
On
so
your
yeah,
name.
I think most everybody has, but if you haven't, put your call sign in with your name, the 3 dots in the top corner, and then click rename, and you should be able to add that in. All right. So another something that's a little bit unusual. Oh, let's see, we got a hand raised. All right, Fred, do you have a question?
I was just trying to poke around to figure out how to change my name.
So if you in the if you can see everybody's screen, and if you hover over where yours is, if there's 3 little dots, there's a mute button and there's 3 dots. If you click that and then scroll down, and you can click rename and then type
it doesn't give me that as a choice for some reason on my interface.
Let me see.
So not a big deal.
You have Apple or Microsoft?
What's your call sign?
KS2X. I'm using an iPad.
KS2X.
Right. Oh, there you go. You did it. Thank you. We all need some help sometimes.
All right. All right. Well, we're still glad you came and glad to have you. But since I've got you, well, I'll introduce it. So I said something about it in Sparks. For those of you who didn't read about it, one thing that Fred and I and a few others have talked about last year at Field Day, and then a lot more at Field Day this year, is that it'd be nice to do more with some of the other clubs in our area outside of Field Day. And so obviously we want to, Field Day is great, and we want to continue to do that. And a lot of you guys are members of either Neshoba or Mara or some of the other groups in the area, and continue that as well. But we do have some members that are only with Mara or Neshoba or Delta Club. And so we kind of want to do a little bit more camaraderie and collaboration among some of the groups. And one of the things that we talked about, Fred and I did, was maybe offering, if we could, like a CPR class with one of the local first responder entities. So at the moment, we're leaning towards doing maybe the ASHE CPR with Germantown Fire Department. Don't have a whole lot of details. So Fred, I don't know if you have any more, you can fill us in or talk about it too. But it's something that, we'd like to, I don't know, if you think about with all the community, the nonprofit community service activities that we go to, we've had folks deal with anaphylactic shock. We've had folks get hit by cars. We've had folks pass out from all different kinds of things. And then with Field Day, knowing heat stroke, heat exhaustion symptoms, and we've had other instances last year. So it only makes sense with all the service that we do in the community to actually be a little bit more prepared outside of just our radio communication skills. And so first aid, CPR type stuff only makes sense that we encourage it as a group. And so it just seemed like a good opportunity. I've already had quite a few folks email me who were interested in signing up. And again, we don't know, we're not locking anybody in right now, just trying to kind of get a head count. But Fred, do you want to speak any more about, I guess, sure, specifically with the, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little, I've had a few more communications through Jelly Thompson, who's coordinating this. Was obviously he's works there at Germantown Fire. And one of the things that they're still deciding on is actually what this would cost. But I don't think they'd be asking for anything more than the cost of the cards, and the ASHI cards are cheap. They're under $5. So probably talking about $5 or less for the training. And it's good quality training. That there's no issue with it. They have a variety of things that go beyond that. You mentioned first aid, their first aid programs and things like that. But one of the things I think that's really so valuable about learning CPR isn't just when we're out doing our ham related stuff, but on an everyday basis, you never know when you're going to run into somebody in distress. And it gives you a really good idea of what to do to really make a difference and save a life. And so you just don't have to go stand there and go, what do I do? You know what to do. And so it's quite valuable stuff. It doesn't take terribly long. I've the American Heart classes, the ones I teach normally, and they're around 3 hours or so for an introductory class, and I think it'd be very valuable. So what I'd like to see is us I mentioned it last night at the SHOBA meeting, and I had a number of people step up and say they were interested there. If we could get an approximate head count, because one of the issues in doing the classes is you have to have a certain number of the CPR mannequins and AED trainers, and especially if you're teaching people that haven't had it before, it really helps to have a good ratio of instructors to students so that you can really spend hands time on it, because just knowing how to do it is one thing. It's actually practicing it and getting the right hand placement and depth and things like that that are important to do. So if you can get us a rough head count, then I'll continue work with Germantown Fire. Maybe we can find a date and see if we can get something going.
Yeah. Well, since we've got everybody here, can you raise your hand either by the button or on the screen and hold it up for a second if you're interested? And again, this doesn't lock you in. It just helps us get an idea. All right. Let's see. All right. Hey, Dan, is that you and Janet or just you?
Both of us.
Okay. I've got you, Rob, and then Joe, Webb, John. Let's see. Anybody else? I see a couple hands over here. Hold on. So I've got Warren. Okay. Well, this is exciting. Let's see. I'm writing as quick as I can, y'all. So while I'm looking at the hands raised over on the side, does anybody want to mention? I mean, do you guys want us to see, like, would y'all like to see us start looking at more kind of opportunities like this? Or stick with maybe just this class for now? Or what are you thinking?
See how the class goes and go from there.
KX4. All right. Good deal. And I've got a few of you who emailed me beforehand. I've got you already down too. But well, I'll get with I'll continue to work with Fred and we'll see what we can get going and yeah, see how it goes. So
yeah. Any thoughts on timing we'd like to shoot for? I know this is a kind of a busy time of year with a lot of people on vacation. Do we want to shoot for once school gets back in and people more likely in town, or we want to do it earlier? Any thoughts there?
Well, do you know, I mean, would it be okay with them to work with something like a Saturday, or would it need to be like a weeknight or a weekday? Do you know?
I would imagine weekend won't be a problem for them.
Okay.
But I'll see. One of the nice thing about people in fire service is they kind of work 24/7. They're not of a mindset of having days off.
Well, some of you who raised your hand and expressed interest, is that something y'all would like to see us try to do in the next month before school gets going, or wait a month or two, do it on a Saturday, weeknight, weekend? Any preference?
I think wait till school starts.
Wait till school starts. Okay.
I vote for the fall once it cools down a little bit.
Well,
the good news is we do it in air-conditioned spaces. You get pretty sweaty quickly doing CPR. Otherwise, it is definitely doable in an evening kind of thing, if that is something that's good for folks.
All right. Well, we'll work on that and see what we can get set up.
How many hours is it involved? It's been decades since I've done it.
Typically, the entry-level CPR AED classes last in the range of around 3 hours. One of the things we'll have to decide if we want to just do adult CPR, we want to do adult children and infant CPR, that adds some to it. So some decisions to be made.
W4OQG, I'm here, but I'm late.
All right. Would you, well, Pat, now that you're here, would you be interested in taking a CPR class at all?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Well, would y'all have any preference? I mean, is there, do we want to stick with just adult only CPR, or do y'all want to try to go on and do the infant and child CPR as well? Because how much time would that add on, Fred?
I have to see exactly what it does on the ASHE schedule. For the American Heart Saver, which would be the equivalent, it's close to an hour on it. The infant is the one that's really rather different. The whole hand placement and how you do it. Then there's some differences in the protocols too, but which they'll explain in the class why you do things differently for infants and children than you do for adults. Clearly, the most likely place you have to use these skills are with adults. The children and infants are not likely to have cardiac problems like this. But for people that are around kids a lot, when I teach it to people, Heart Saver infant, it tends to be people who work in daycares or things like that, where they're with kids a lot and have a lot more exposure and chance for it. It's not a huge increase, but it is, I don't know, 20, 25% of the class length.
Yeah, I know I took, mine is current right now, but I'm still interested in getting this class going. I took the infant and CPR one because my sister was having a child and everything. But other than that, I guess, does anybody have an objection to us just pursuing the adult CPR class for now, and then maybe later on, if we want to expand, we can expand, or do y'all want to go on and do infant and child in this go round?
I think we should go with the adult thing first, and if there's interest, continue with the children or infant. But I got a question that maybe Fred could answer. I was certified probably 5 years ago for CPR. And how long do those certifications last? I'm sure mine has lapsed.
Normally, it's every 2 years. They suggest you do it, and the protocols may have even changed since you did it. I mean, one of the things that's funny about this is when I first started doing this, you started off with ABC, airway, breathing, circulation. Now you do CAB rather, and start off with the compressions rather than the breath. So things have changed quite a bit, but they recommend it every 2 years at a minimum. In fact, the American Heart Association recommends medical people actually kind of do a mini refresher every 6 months, which is probably a bit much, but every 2 years. So yours would be expired. A lot of it depends upon if you're doing it for your personal benefit and be able to do things. It's nice to keep it current. I'm an emergency medical responder. I have to keep my CPR current, otherwise my license is invalid. So different people have different reasons for doing it.
I've got grandchildren, but they're growing up so fast, they're going to be older than me pretty soon.
That's a hard thing to do, and have them actually get older.
Yeah, that was a great question, Webb. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts? All right. Well, good deal. Well, and I will say too, thank you, Fred, for kind of spearheading this, and I look forward to getting this set up with you and all that. So, because one thing I think it'll be nice is it's not just Delta Club, but it's going to be, different clubs kind of coming together for this training, and so anything we can kind of do to keep working with each other, the more we can all get to know each other, the more we can work together down the road to promote amateur radio. So,
exactly.
All right. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't checked in a while, the information net is not meeting on the 8.2 repeater still. It is still meeting on the 443.700 frequency, which has a +5 megahertz offset and a PL tone of 107.2. So while we are meeting on that frequency, there is no 440 net on Friday nights. And then also the YL net is on a summer pause for the rest of this month. So does anybody have any questions about the net announcements? Okay. Well, Barry, I don't know, this is kind of throwing you on the spot, but you're probably expecting it. Any news for us, or are we in the same boat?
Well, I was able to go out there. I went out there after breakfast Friday and just to see what the status was. And it looks like they are finished doing all their work. And that's what we've been waiting on. I'm not sure what else they did. There's a real big pile of waveguide out in the lot there. But that they took down. And I don't know if they did channel 24 also or what. I've got to look at that a little bit closer. But regardless, Rick and I talked it over, and we're going to go back out there. And as hot as it's been, just in case it's like water that's gotten in the line or something like that, maybe it's evaporated by now, in all this heat. And we're going to do another test to see if we still have the problem. And from there, we're just going to have to put a plan together and get a climber. And we're just not 100% sure what all we're going to have them do. I mean, we'll have them test put a dummy load on the feed line and test that just to see if that's got a problem. But, I just hope it's not the antenna. So it's just funny. It just suddenly happened while they were working on it. So that's kind of where we stand. So I'll Rick and I'll keep you updated.
Sounds good. And again, thanks for all you guys are doing with that. And as for everybody else, of course, we'll we'll make the announcement if anything changes anytime soon, either on the Infonet or through Sparks or here, but it may also be a while. So certainly appreciate you going out there and doing that.
Rick, you got anything to add?
Yeah, when you're ready, I'm ready any day.
Well, it's too dadgum hot.
Okay.
Although it's freezing in there.
We go at 8 o'clock. Yeah. Once you get in the building, you don't have to worry about being hot. So I'm game any morning.
Well, I've got my house finished and all that, so I'm clear there. So
okay, well, just give me a buzz when you know the night.
Okay,
before. Man. Well, I'm piped in here. If I could make an announcement there, Mary Jean.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, since elections are starting this Friday, early elections for a couple of weeks, and then the August 4th real election, we got a local member of Delta, or has been, Neshoba stuff, Perry Hayes, N4GJ, is running for a criminal court judge for Division 8. So figured to put in a little plug there, and he's, I know, helped out with ham classes in the past, I believe, and been net control. So anyhow, just throwing that out there. It's hopefully everybody get a vote for whatever purpose. You know, it's time to get some changes around this world. Red saying yes. And like I say, Barry, just give me a holler on the phone, and like I say, I'm game to go anytime. We'll go out and do our test we talked about the other day. That's it.
Good deal. Does anybody, yeah, Dan?
Barry, is there any chance that we can get a drone up to look at the antenna itself?
Would you take a drone up around all that RF? I wouldn't.
I didn't know.
Yeah, that's been mentioned before, but yeah, no.
Good question. Good question.
Yeah, same reason we if you try to put an antenna analyzer on it, I mean, it's useless. There's so much RF. I mean, the antenna, it just goes like this. You know, if you hook it up to the antenna. So I would never dream of putting a drone up there.
Okay, second, another question. Would it be worth having a spare antenna available if we're going to pay for a climber?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, that antenna is $1,200. So, I mean, do we want to put that kind of money out or whatever? And that's a commercial antenna, and it's only 2 years old right now, and hopefully there's nothing wrong with it, but you know, you just don't know.
Yeah, but what's a climber going to cost us?
Yeah, but the last antenna lasted us how many years, Barry?
20.
And the technology probably changed some.
Well, it's totally different kind of antenna. That one was fiberglass, and this one is not. This one's a commercial 4-element antenna that you typically see, you know, on towers and stuff. And as far as the cost of a climber, it's going to be close to $3,000.
Yeah, great questions. Anybody else have any questions for Barry?
One thing, Barry, I think when you were out there, you had the SWR meter on it and was looking, and it was good one time and not good another time. So that could mean that there's a connection that's loose.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. And that's what I'm hoping it is, but it still requires a climber.
Yeah. Well, and to I guess to talk to Dan's, the belief is that it's a loose connection, not the antenna itself, that we're having to deal with to get it back on the air.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, and something I know there's still some research that you've got to do and go out and look at it. And I know we still have to line up some folks and everything. And, but I mean, it's with this heat, even if we were ready to act right now, it's still likely going to be a few months before anybody could climb up there, correct? Or do you think that's something, do some of these professional guys, are they better about climbing in this heat?
I don't know what the rules are, but I sure wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You know, by the time, I mean, I usually have to schedule them a couple of months out anyway. So, you know, it should be better off by the time they come out.
Okay.
Yeah, you're closer to the sun up there too.
That's a good point, Pat.
Fewer trees to give you shade and.
Pat, you used to climb these towers. Are you available?
No, sir. I'll be 80 years old in February. I'm too old for that stuff now.
I'm too old for it now.
Yeah, my wife won't let me climb my tower in the backyard here.
Well, I can understand that.
Well, thank you again. And I know I'm not looking forward to what we might have to do as a club for a solution, but I know it's part of it too. And this is just, you know, another great reason. I know we haven't really been pushing memberships as hard over the past year. So if you haven't paid yet, you can email Carolyn to see if you're not sure if you've got your 2022 dues paid, because all those dues, I know it's not a lot, but that all kind of goes into helping with a bunch of expenses, but it also includes things like the working on the repeater, and it goes to help provide food and other things for events like Field Day. It goes to kind of help kind of offset some of the cost for the bus trip and things like that. So a lot of the stuff that we talk about from the repeater to events, your dues, we certainly try to be as fiscally responsible as we can possibly be to make that stretch. So we certainly want to try to make that $20 or $25 stretch as far as we can. But yeah, does anybody else have any announcements or any questions, comments so far?
Pat, I've got a quick question. Did Barry #1 get with whoever's necessary to get our CW scores off of her computer in for Field Day?
Those are already loaded on the club computer. So they've been amalgamated together with what I did on Sundays. So somebody just has to merge those up.
Okay, so it's all been taken care of.
From Barry's computer, yes. We've got that on a thumb drive, and then we loaded it on the club's computer.
Good, because that we made enough contacts on CW to probably help our score quite a bit.
Yes, I think 82.
Very good, thank you.
Carolyn, you still have the thumb drive?
Yes, I do.
Okay, might have to reload it again, but I'll get with you.
Okay. Load just what was on Barry's computer, or what was put in there on Sunday?
I'm not sure. I want to get with you on it.
Okay.
Well, hey, Joe, y'all just decide, y'all decide, and then y'all can just send it to me. I mean, as long as we've got all the CWs, whichever file that is, just send it to me and I'll add it to what we've got.
Carolyn, if you have it on a thumb drive, will you send it to Steve?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, and I think most everybody who managed the station or helped with the station, and that's kind of what we're talking about. Steve has so graciously volunteered or so graciously accepted the request to compile the logs for us to submit to ARRL for all the contacts for field day. So, and then Joe, I think, is working on the paperwork to go with that. So I just want to say thanks to Steve and Joe for kind of helping to wrap that up. And then also thanks to all the station managers who took time not only on field day, but with all the time before getting everything ready, suffering through the heat, and then helping to get everything turned in afterwards. So that way we can see what we can do for the Memphis area for this. So let's see. And then let's see. So since we're talking about field day, that's what our program is going to be about today. We don't really have a whole lot. There's a couple videos that some members have submitted that I'll play after we talk for a minute. So I've got a video that Tom, AC5MR, submitted, and then Steve, W4DTA, had as well. And if anybody else has any videos or pictures they'd like to share, we can do that too. So, but in general, for those of you who weren't aware, every time we announced it, field day was last month, a few weeks ago. And we had a really good turnout, especially around lunchtime. It was very hot. I think it was, I think it hits 101 degrees on Saturday. And then I want to say it was around 99 on Sunday, if that's correct. And it was definitely hot. It got a little cooler. There was a small rain shower on Sunday with a lot of lightning that kind of popped up. So we started tearing down a little early. And that certainly helped a little bit with the heat, but it also brought its own increase in the humidity. So it was very hot. Everybody kept hydrating and everything. I know we had a few folks leave a little bit early on Saturday to get out of the heat. And we'd certainly rather people leave early than experience any heat related issues. So, but we had a good turnout. A lot of you guys came out around lunchtime. And I think, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had, 79 total for the weekend, correct?
47, I think.
Oh, was it 47?
47. Let's say this, there were 47 people signed the log.
Quick question. Who's collecting the money for the food?
So Delta Club, I've got to email you and Fred the final numbers, but we came in a lot cheaper than last year. And so Delta Club has already reimbursed me. And then, well, I'll tell you what, give me a second and I'll look this up and mention it in a moment what it's going to come out to per club.
I just want to make sure whoever it is gets paid. I know last year, I think I talked to our treasurer and it was kind of a delay because I think he thought it was one club collecting, it was a different club. So
yeah, it'll go to Delta Club. Let's see. All right, so all right, so with 47 people, I know several of you that came out. I know some didn't come out. A few of you guys mentioned that there were other events already going on that were a lot more personal, which is understandable why that's a higher priority. I know the heat alone may have been a reason why, but I just want today, I guess, really is going to be like a good feedback session because if we don't get any feedback, we won't change anything. And if we don't change anything, things that we did wrong might not get better next year, or things that we did well, we might not realize to continue to do. So There's no wrong answers. There's no wrong feedback. So if you, I guess some of you guys who attended, well, let's start with anybody who did not attend. Does anybody want to volunteer why they weren't able to make it out? Or I guess we're looking, did you just have other obligations? Did you just not feel excited about coming out to visit with us? Any volunteers? I'll start calling on names in a minute. So.
Well, Mary Jean, I had plans to come out and I would have enjoyed it, but I ran into some technical difficulties that I had to attend to on a refrigeration unit in my camper. And I didn't plan on spending the whole day working on that thing in the heat, but I did. And by the end of the day, I felt bad that I didn't get to do any radio stuff all day long for both days. So I guess that's just a cop out, but I missed that I wasn't able to make it.
Well, thank you for that feedback. I know things happen and all that. I mean, I don't see him on, but I know Will and a few others came out even on Sunday, and they were about to get on the GOTA station, and that was around that time the lightning popped up in the area. So we even had some folks who came out at the last minute, but because of the weather, we weren't able to get them on the air like they hoped. But yeah, thank you for that feedback, Webb. Anybody else? I know Scott, you were out of town.
Yes, I was down in Dolphin Island, so I couldn't attend.
Was it cooler there?
Actually, no, it was quite hot Saturday. It was quite hot Saturday, but there towards the end of the week, it was raining every day, and we had the rain. We usually had the rain in the morning, but in the afternoon, it was really not that bad down at Dolphin Island. So, but it was quite hot Saturday. Of course, I was on the beach, but it didn't matter.
That sounds like
I thought Sunday was hotter than Saturday, actually.
Yeah.
With the humidity was about 30% higher Sunday than Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was painfully humid right before that rain came in. And then I see Paul KY4MX said that he was out of town. Let's see. Well, some of you who were, I guess some of the station captains, John, do you want to give us an update on how everything went with your station?
Sure. Let me see here if I can share my screen.
Should be able to, yeah.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So I headed up the HF Digital station, and this was a picture of my station. Right out front here are 200-watt solar panels that feed back to a box and then powered my radio and 2 laptops. And then I've got another 50-watt panel back here that actually provided power for a couple of fans and some lighting. I had a G5 RV. You can see part of the ladder line back here. And then this bucket here is half filled with concrete. And it's got a PVC pipe in it, and I've just got a painter's pole and a roll-up J-pole there. And basically, I've got a little mobile rig in this box here that allows me to get on the local repeaters on the 2 meter and 70 centimeter. So, and it was hot that day. At the operator's desk, you can see over here on the left, my radio and tuner. I did bring out a thermometer just to keep track of the temperature. But this was the primary laptop that ran the FT8 software. And then I had a crossover cable going to this computer that ran the logging software, and everything was connected automatically. So I didn't need a second person there to do the logging. We could, as a contact was made, it would automatically do the logging. And photographic confirmation, we made it to 100 degrees. And then this is a picture of the logging software. I ended up getting just hot and worn out, and by Saturday night I had all I could stand, so I packed it in a little early. But we did end up with 145 digital contacts. It was a combination of FT8 and FT4. And then this is a map. Everything that is colored in are sections, ARRL sections that I worked. So that's pretty much it. It was hot and miserable, but also fun and a challenge. So we'll look forward to next year.
And you said how many contacts did you get?
145.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about John's setup or?
Well, you did good. You made about twice what we did on CW.
Well, digital is a whole lot easier than CW. I couldn't even make one on CW, so got me beat there.
John, can you send me a breakdown of the bands and the number of the FT8 and the well, I don't think they break down the FT8 and FT4.
Yeah, I think they just classify it all
as digital. Send me what bands, how many on each band,
okay,
if you can.
Sure.
That's part of the paperwork that goes in as well as the logs.
Okay. And then we also don't want to forget the bonus points for non-petroleum power.
Right. We've got I think 1,100 out of the 1,700 points that we can get.
Awesome.
Good deal.
The ones we missed were getting a message to the SEC or DEC and ARRL message send and all of that.
To the DEC?
Yeah, a message to the SEC or to section manager.
Okay. You know, I'd actually thought about that. I thought about sending a WinLink message. We'll have to write that down for next year.
Okay.
But I'm the DEC if that counts. I had a verbal message from several of you.
I think they say section manager or SEC.
Rick, do you want to give us an update on your station, how it went?
Not very well. Right when the 1 o'clock hour came, I worked a satellite pass to Michigan. And I mean, there wasn't a bird flying over us. It's worth a flip all afternoon. I couldn't believe it. 6 meters, stunk like the high heavens. Usually it opens up Sunday morning, but it was doing squat. I didn't even take the rig back out Sunday, I don't believe. No, I did take the 6 meter. I didn't take the satellite stuff back out. But I mean, it was like a handful of contacts between the two. Of course, there's only 30 something last year, but that's a little more respectable, 6 meter opening. And I did take digital for 6 this year. And just the band was just dead. In fact, this last week has been that way. Real quick, I might add, did anybody work 13 colonies last week, 4th of July week, which has covered all bands? I did kill some time there on 40 meter digital and satellite, got all 13 on both of those. So just a plug for that, I guess. That's it.
Okay. Well, with, I mean, it's because if you mentioned there's nothing that we can do that would improve that for next year, right? It's just the propagation and all that.
That's it. You got to have the band is open, and like I say, it's 6 meters usually because the activity will get you something. But I mean, this year was terrible.
Fred, do you want to give us an update on your station, which frequencies you worked and how many contacts and all that?
Sure. Be glad to do that. Don't have pictures to share or anything, but we focused solely on 20-meter phone. And we changed up our antenna from last year. Last year, we used a G5 RV and had a heck of a time making contacts. This year, we used a Delta loop, vertically polarized, that we put up in the tree. And it worked a lot better, I'll have to say. For the most part, if we could hear a station operating, we could make a contact with them. It's just slow going from station to station that way. We tried a little bit of calling CQ to see if we could get some stations coming back to us. Because when you do that, you can really run them a lot faster. It's not unusual to get 3 or 4 contacts a minute if you're really doing well on a frequency. And the entire time I called CQ, I actually had a whole one person respond to me, so it wasn't very successful. So overall, we did 61 contacts. One of the things I felt good about, though, was we had a fair number of people come over and operate. Some people were relatively new to HF, hadn't really had a chance to do it. And it was great to see their enthusiasm, and they made a lot of contacts and got better and better at it. So I think from an educational standpoint and getting people into it, I think it was quite successful that way. And in terms of plans for next year, I'm thinking about trying to put up some form of an antenna with some gain, which would give us, I think, an opportunity to hold the frequency and call CQ, which would certainly build the totals. The thoughts I have right now are doing 2 20-meter ground planes and phase them, so that you can get some gain and some directivity for it. Anybody interested in working on a gain antenna project for 20 meters, let me know. I could use all the help I can get. So that's about it on the 20-meter station.
Okay, so looking at different antenna options still. Good. I know I enjoyed going over there and working some. I think we talked to folks from all the way from Orange County to up in Canada on the other side of Maine. So it's pretty neat to be able to get there and just within a few hours talk to folks that far away. So
earlier in the day, we made a couple of contacts in Europe.
Yeah. So if you didn't get to come out and you haven't done much or anything on HF, I know we have a Go To Station, Get on the Air, which is for folks who are new to radio, but kind of once you've done that or once you've gotten into amateur radio a little bit, the good thing about Field Day is that so many different stations are set up. And so I know personally I haven't done really anything on HF. And so it was exciting to get over there and kind of get a feel for it again on how everything worked. And I know if you've kind of been missing a little bit of a spark with getting to do more with your amateur radio stuff, Field Day is always a great chance to dive in and get your feet wet. So let's see. Any questions for Fred or anybody else so far?
That's something that bugged me. Oops, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say solar flux didn't cooperate this Field Day too good. It was like 132 the week before something. It dropped down to 92. Now it's back up to 165. So the solar gods didn't look good on us during Field Day.
Because for those of us who are not familiar with how the solar flares, like with the levels and everything that we need, what is considered to be like ideal? What number? If it was down to 92, then what would we want to see at least?
Well, during like 3 or 4 cycles, go back in the 50s and 60s, what did solar flux get up to any of you guys? It was like 200 and something.
Yeah, it was over 200. Yeah.
200.
Yeah. 10 meters would be open every day.
Yeah. Each cycle since the 60s has been kind of gradually getting lower and lower. And then the last cycle dragged out on the bottom a long time. And we got this polar reversal that's starting to take effect. The poles are moving and the geomagnetic thing level is getting lower also, I think they said. End times.
Rick, you were starting to say something.
I was looking at the log after I got home, and the Cuban I worked a 6-meter digital. I looked at he reported, he was showing Echo Lima 93, which is where he lives in Cuba, but he reported South Florida on the report, which seems strange. So that's kind of curious about that one. Anybody have an answer for that? Whether it even would count?
Illegal alien.
Your audio's real low, Tom.
If he reported, all we can do is put it in and say that that's it. That should be a good contact.
Well, I did, just send it in as it was.
Yeah.
And thanks, Tom, for helping me out on my laptop settings for FT8.
Yeah, okay, appreciate it.
Well, Steve, you want to give us an update on how your station went?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I did 15, mainly was supposed to do 15 and 80. I was in the same spot that I was last year. Worked out pretty good as far as location, I think. I learned one thing. If nothing else, field day is a good time to learn about throwing an antenna up in the trees. I got the first shot without even really trying, and I think I tried for quite a while to get the second part up in the second tree, but it's just one of those deals. Just hadn't had enough practice doing it, so that was good practice to do that. Let me see here. I'm going to share my screen.
I cheated. I used a drone to put my antenna up.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good idea. All right, can y'all see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This was my information. I did 128 total. Now I was doing 15 and 80, and then we realized that nobody was doing 40. So I ended up switching over and doing, especially at night, but I stayed overnight and doing some 40. And then after John left, I thought, well, heck, I can try to do some digital. And to try to avoid getting any duplicates, I didn't send out a CQ on digital. But if, let's see, what did I do? No, I did do CQ because I figured if somebody, responded back to me, it's because they didn't show that they had already gotten one from our group. So I think that worked pretty good. I ended up getting 76 digital contacts. And when I combined my data and John's, we only had a few duplicates. I mean, like 15 or so. So that's not too bad. And if I hadn't have done that, we wouldn't have gotten those 76. So, and then, like I said, I also did some 40. So I did a little bit of everything. Here's a map showing that's combining phone and digital. But I got pretty good coverage on the Eastern United States. I think a lot of this on the Western was digital. I don't know. I think I ran into that last year. I'm a little bit down in a hole. And there's a hill to the west side of where I am. I don't know if I'm not high enough to where that's factoring that in or not, but I was a little, had the same kind of situation last year. I didn't have a whole lot on the West Coast, but pretty heavy on the East Coast. I did actually get Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands, so I was kind of happy about that. Let me see here. Now that was mine. I have, let me see if I can open this up. I've combined what we've got without the, this is everything without the CW. I'm showing so far we got 574 total contacts. Digital did blow out the phone, which, is no surprise there. I was pretty surprised when I saw the map on this. We did do pretty good. We didn't get middle part, those two Providences up in Canada. There wasn't any polar bears or reindeer, I guess, on the radio up there.
Manitoba and Saskatchewan.
Huh?
Manitoba and Saskatchewan.
Yeah. And I think
a couple of sections in Northwest California.
Yeah. I mean, we missed right there on the very coast of that in San Francisco. I said we may have that on CW. Once we get to CW in, we'll see if we can fill in those spots. So, but yeah, here's actually the ones in red are the ones we didn't get. We didn't get East Bay, what they call the Pacific area, San Francisco, like she said, Manitoba, Newfoundland, Labrador, Eastern or Northern Territories, Prince Edward Island, and Saskatchewan. So, but we did pretty good in Alaska. We didn't get any Alaska so far. But like I said, that's without the CW. We could have gotten some of those. One thing, Joe was asking about some statistics. This shows, pretty much what's on the other screen there. But what gets interesting is when you can see how many contacts in different sections. Ohio, they don't have anything better to do up there in the summertime. They've always, whenever I've ever done field day, that's usually one of the more popular areas to get contacts in. North Carolina, Georgia, those are always pretty common that I normally see. That's the sections. This information is just strictly the states. So once again, Ohio, the whole state's a section. Florida, when you combine a couple of sections that they've got there, they actually come in second as far as the second most popular state that we've got. Texas, North Carolina. We did actually, where did I see that? Like Fred was saying, he got, I saw in England I saw that somewhere in this information.
Yeah, I had England.
You had England. Okay, somebody had England, and so we did get some. And like I said, I got Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands. So I think we did pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a couple of people sit with me. I was my bands were kind of weak as far as I was getting a lot of I had to. It's better for me to have headphones on. I've got a splitter for my speaker jack, and I forgot to bring it. I've got a list that I'll remind myself next year to bring the splitter for my headphone jack. And somebody sitting with me could maybe help listen in better on that. But other than that, I think we did pretty good.
Well, would you, because I know you mentioned you liked the location, but then I know you said you didn't get as many as you would like further out west. So, I mean, are you content with the station location and the antenna placement and all that, or is there anything that you'd like to kind of test out and change?
I like the location. The location's pretty good. I think we were spread out pretty good as far as all the stations. I think for, years before we've had some interference, and I didn't get much interference from anybody. I think we were better on that where everybody was. And I don't know. I mean, it's not enough of a hill. It's just I'm a little bit down in a hole, and the holes to the high side of the holes to the west of me. That just may be a coincidence. I don't know. I may try to see if I can get a little bit higher with my antenna, but I don't know if that would help.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Steve?
Hey, Steve, don't feel bad. When I was at the pavilion eating, I looked down and I could see the top of my 6-meter beam below the level down in the hallway.
And I don't think I was much higher than you, Rick. I was down out in that field.
Yeah, you're down that same hole in the big opening.
And I did get some, I can't go back, but if I look at mine, I did get some. I think it was mostly digital, but I got some west, so it's not like I was totally blocked. It's just, you got to start factoring in population density is stronger on the east. That's why it usually goes that way. But well, in fact, I think I can't remember if I didn't get them or not. I was seeing, I think doing digital, I think I actually I saw Hawaii for a while. So, I mean, I was getting pretty far west. So.
Well, Pat, do you want to tell us kind of how your CW station went?
Well, the main thing is I didn't fall down and wind up in the hospital this year like last time. We just,
that was a good thing.
I brought the TS2000 out there and I just ran 20 meter CW. I didn't run any other bands. We ran a wire out to a tree out there a little ways, put it up with a rod and reel, went fishing for a limb brim, as I told people. And that antenna worked out pretty good. That's same place and same type of antenna we did last year. We had a LDG automatic tuner that worked real well for us. We did work one ZF station down in the Caribbean. I've forgotten what island that is, but he had a real good signal and we worked him on CW. And except for the heat, it was really good. It was nice to see everybody out there and the food was good. Like I said, except for the heat, I had a really good time out there this year.
Are you, well, that's good. I mean, I know you were, every time I looked over, you were, having a ball on that Kier. Are you content with where like the antenna placement and everything is? Was that something you think would be good for next year?
Yeah, that'll be good for next year too. If we get that same place.
Okay. And I know, I know when we're talking about possible changes or keeping things the same for next year, I know technically we could always change locations. So this is also kind of assuming we might be in the same spot. But yeah. Well, and I know, because I know you worked CW during the day, but Carolyn got there super early on Sunday and worked it for a while. Carolyn, do you have anything you want to add about how it went for you and how your setup was?
Yeah, thanks to Pat's wire antenna, things were kind of hopping. My goal was to get there at 4 a.m. on Sunday and work till 8 a.m. I actually got there about 4:30. Plugged in and to my surprise, 40 meters was hopping. The only thing that went wrong was my laptop died. As soon as I made my first contact and tried to log it, the screen just went blank. So I had to go to paper logging, which slowed me down a little bit. And then Steve came out and said, well, we've got a club laptop you can use. So I had a thumb drive from Barry's log that Pat had done, and I loaded that up into the log file for what I was doing so we could merge them, changed my op ID, and I think we started out with 56 contacts, and when I shut down we were at 82, but I had to take some time off because I had to transcribe everything I'd done in the paper log into the laptop, which took probably a half hour off my time, and I did leave at 8. I was going to come back and help with teardown. So I left some of the equipment there. The laptop was there, and then my paper log was still there. But by the time I got back, I think because there was a lightning storm, everything was torn down, everything was gone. So I think that's why there might be a laptop issue, what happened with that log. So. that's where we're at.
Well, no worries. I know I'm glad you were able to get up there early that morning and get some good contacts in. And I guess this is something to keep in mind. We can make sure that we have that club laptop there for next year. So even if it's not anything you have an issue with, but if anybody has an issue with logging, that way there is a backup laptop that already has the software on it and everything. And so it won't, I mean, it might slow that station down a little, but it won't stop them. So I'm glad it worked out this year, but it's, you know, that's something worth noting for next year. So
I also think for next year, it would behoove us to bring out a cheap router. I think I've got a spare here, just a Wi-Fi router. We can have, that way we can link all of our laptops and then have a master laptop there that acts as the server for the logging. And that way there's a central repository for everybody's logs. So we wouldn't have to get everybody's log files and put them all together. It would just automatically be done. We could also hook up a display so that visitors coming up can view the nationwide map of where we're connecting. Yeah. It's something that would be fairly simple to do. We'd have to kind of play it by ear a little bit because we'd have to see how the coverage is out there. But being outdoors, you know, any Wi-Fi router should be more than enough to accommodate that. What do you guys think?
There's another very important benefit to that, John, and that is if you have that central networking one, the question about running dupes, like Steve was talking about duplicating it, he would have known immediately if there were going to be dupes. And so that's a big plus right in the middle of the activity.
We don't have to have it connected to the internet or anything. We just need something that connects the PCs together. Just throws out a SSID that we can all connect to. And yep. I'll be happy to take charge of that and run with that. So unless somebody else wants to, but
hey, John,
yeah,
I'll donate this puppy. I just replaced mine a month or two
I've
ago.
actually got, I think that same model, I've got one. That's an Asus?
No, it's a Netgear.
I've got a Netgear. Yeah,
yeah, that's what this is. Actually, I'm not going to use it.
So,
if anybody wants to put it on there,
we'll just put SSID of field day on it and come up with a clever password and we'll be good to go.
Well, I mean, if that's something you're willing to kind of help figure out for next year, because it seems like for the past 2 or 3 years, we've kind of talked about it and it gets to field day and we haven't done that. So, I mean, if that's something you're in, it sounds like it'd be cool, especially having the display for people to see like all the states and the sections that have been contacted and everything. I know that's something I love seeing, like facts and numbers and things like that. And well, I know I'd be interested in that.
We've done it before when the Hamwin group did it. And then my setup, I actually had a crossover cable and was actually running my laptop. The laptop on the right was done as a server. So my the laptop that I was working off of actually connected to the second laptop that was acting as the server. So I already know how to set it up. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
And I think it would add a lot of visibility to people to come out and visit and also eliminate dupes. So I'll be happy.
You got it, John.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Go to station?
Yeah. Go to station, Joe.
Yeah, Paul, KA4X. It's a new call. He used to be KA9 VAU. He was he headed it up on the Yaesu 891. I've got to get him. My computer messed up and I had to send it to the shop and I'm going to pick it up tomorrow. And one of it, I'd plugged his thumb drive in that had the statistics on it and I was afraid that was corrupted. So with virus, so they're cleaning that up. He still, I told him to keep his information until I told him that he could release it. But it looked like we had about 25 contacts from the GOTA station. I realized during the later in the morning, I hadn't been on HF in a couple of years, so I was qualified to be on the GOTA station. And I didn't start until, let's see, looks like 3:29 in the afternoon. But we really didn't have but 5 people that came by that were not hams. 3 of them, one was Tom, can't think of Tom's name. I worked with him at FedEx. He and his son and grandson with their dog, Molly, were there in Saturday afternoon. And then Will and his girlfriend and Dan and his girlfriend were there Sunday. And then we had David KQ48 AJM. He made a couple of contacts during the day, Saturday evening, I believe. And so I think we had more contacts this year than we have had in the past because I was on it. And I was trying to get to 20 contacts that give us 20 additional points as well. And I did that with, I think, 23 contacts. So, but it took quite a while, being very, very, very rusty.
And you had contacts from your adopted home club up in New Hampshire?
Yes.
I thought that was interesting.
K1R, talked to them, and then when I was on I was on email, and I get their emails, and I said, yeah, and I talked to you, and the guy that was on the email said, yeah, that was me. So I don't think I know him personally, but I know quite a few of the guys up there. When we go up to Maine, we do public service work with the guys in New Hampshire. And I'll get my computer back tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be able to get the GOTA station to Steve. If not, I'll get Paul to send it to him.
Okay.
And Carolyn, the program I have has 64 to 84 on it, and that's it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's 64 to 84. That, well, anyway.
If you can send that whole file to Steve, that's fine.
Okay, sure. All right.
That'll get that taken care of, and I'll get the GOTA station one. Get
Okay.
Paul to do it, or I'll have it on the thumb drive tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, I know this year, I know we changed up the antenna placement. Was it GOTA? Or I know we moved Fred over with his station. So with the changes that we did make, did that seem like it fixed all the issues, or is that something we are going to look at changing next year a little more to tweak? What do you guys think?
The only issue that I experienced was when the GOTA station was operating on 20 meters and I was on 20 meters, it would knock out a portion of the band. I was still able to operate other parts of the band, but I had no interference from any other station that wasn't on the same band. So the separation worked pretty good.
Yeah, I put the GOTA station antenna in a more north-south direction, and Fred's was on an east-west, to where it helps a little bit
Yeah, when you're only 50 or 60 feet apart,
Yeah.
it's still going to be pretty strong.
Well, it was probably set. Well, yeah, the end of my antenna was closer to you.
Yeah.
I was going to say I had a 50-foot extension cord and a 100-foot cord running to the generator. So
my antenna was oriented east-west, and I toyed with the idea of trying to orient it north-south. And next year I may do that just for sake of, hey, you know, this is an experiment. I'd like to see, you know, if it makes a difference and how much of a difference it makes. So, you know, we'll see when the time comes around. Where I've put it the last 2 years has certainly worked well. But I may go between two of those light towers further out in the field rather than between a tree and that light tower going north-south, or I mean east-west.
Okay.
Let's
see. Any other suggestions for like antenna or station changes for next year? Anything we need to do again that hasn't already been said? Okay. Well, real quick, I'm going to go back and answer that food question. Because I have not emailed this out yet. So, and I handle the food this year again. If anybody would like to do this next year, feel free to do so. So this year we came in, everything cost $456.44. So it came in $111.23 cheaper than last year. Honestly, I think that could come down quite a bit more. So of course the big bulk of it was lunch, pizza. There could be a lot less ordered. And I guess I wanted to ask you guys, because I know several years ago when we had access to the kitchen and we were doing the dinners at night with the chicken dinners and everything, it seems like the crowds were bigger at dinner time than it was at lunch around setup. But the past 2 years, we've had a bigger crowd at lunch than we have had at dinner. And so it may have been the heat this year. I don't know. But
air conditioning.
Okay. And so I think, so I know that could go down a little, but everything else, snacks probably cut out a little more, but despite everything going up, I tried to penny pinch and all that where I could. So each club, and so what we kind of do, well, this is, I guess it can be common knowledge. So anything that we have left over that's purchased for snacks and everything, Delta Club kind of buys back. So I get with Scott to kind of find out what, things that we might enjoy at field day, and then what we could use the leftovers for at our meetings. And so we're gonna, we kind of bought back up $67 worth of that. And so the total expenses that the three clubs would split that were actually used at field day was just $389.24. And so each club, so Fred and Rick, and I'll email you guys this a little later, but each club would need to send Delta Club a check for $129.75. And so for those of you who don't know, again, this is where it comes into, and I'm sure the membership fees for Neshoba and Mara, but especially Delta Club, these three clubs kind of help cover. So when we've got snacks and we've got food and all that for this event, these three clubs work together. And again, I think that could come down quite a bit, but well, maybe not quite a bit, but I think it could come down some. But if anybody thinks they can bring it down a lot more, I would encourage you to volunteer, and I can pass on my notes and everything. I'd be happy to do that. But any questions about?
Or accepting donations.
Or that, yeah.
Did Marco give a discount?
So I got they typically do a 20% discount, which is, I think, a standard over so many pizzas, but I got an email within a week before the event that offered 25% off my order. So I saved it and got 25% off. And then I also got the extra large size because it's cheaper for pizza than the large. So, but again, I mean, there was pizza left over because I guess I'd kind of assumed that I know we had a lot of people leave because of the heat. After I'd already placed the order and also assumed that we might have a few more come in for that. So I think the big thing is probably just assuming that we might have a small, unless something changes, we might have a smaller crowd at dinner time than at lunch. So, but is there anything food wise? And it won't hurt my feelings, but is there anything food wise that y'all would like to see different? I know I wasn't really, I tried something different, offering wheat sandwiches for the sandwiches, but they did not distinguish the difference between the wheat and the white. So it was kind of it was a good luck thing on what you wanted. Yeah, you were going to get what you were going to get. But I don't know. I mean, do y'all like for not having a kitchen, do you like the pizza and the sandwiches, or is that something you'd like to see it switch, especially for you guys who were helping out?
Worked for me.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, the food. And the other thing that was great is there were plenty of drinks, and we needed those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went through a lot of water. Something that also helped with it cut into it saved on our ice budget is that I went early Saturday morning to pick up ice from the church, and that way we only had to buy ice in the evening, and we weren't having to buy it in the morning and in the evening. And of course, I ended up not buying any ice on Sunday morning because it didn't seem like we were going to be there that long once the rain came in. But I would have bought some Sunday if we weren't packing up so early. So, right. Well, and then the last thing I wanted to ask you guys about before we watch those videos. So, Joe mentioned that we had a couple of folks come out who were going to get on the GOTA station. Fred mentioned that we had some folks, I know, including myself, who were a little bit newer to that. But, one thing I would like to see us get some more people out, whether they're new hams, whether it's some of you guys or some folks who are not on here who haven't come to field day in a while, whether it's getting folks who are not hams and who might be interested in this. Something that we tried this year that was a little different, and I should have done it earlier. And so it's something I'm going to jot down to maybe do earlier next year. Is Saturday morning, I put a post on Facebook. And if y'all aren't, if you haven't followed us, Delta Amateur Radio Club on Facebook, I don't keep it up as much as I know I need to, though we try to get the big announcements out. Put a post up. We had some ad credit with Facebook, so I put that on there, and it ended up getting, I think, 5,300 views on that post. So it seemed like that maybe if we get it out a little earlier next year, that it might help kind of bring in some folks who are not members to come to the event. But I don't know. I mean, do any of you have any ideas? Should we do something different with media relations? Should we maybe push our members to do like a challenge of, bring a friend with you? I mean, the heat played against us this year, but I don't know. What do you guys think we could do to increase attendance?
I sent out the email about field day to my students and a number of prospective students because the class hadn't started yet. And then I believe I sent out, no, I just sent it out to the previous students.
Okay. Yeah. Did any of you see the email that day, whether you came or not? And I know if you had other stuff going on, but did you guys see that email that we sent out that day, or should we did it make a difference having the email the day of, or I mean, did you already know when you just couldn't attend? Any thoughts? All right,
I think an email the day before would be better than the morning of.
All right. Let's see. Well, we'll go. Yes.
Maybe we ought to contact Germantown and see if we put something on their website or something.
So
maybe they did.
They did put it in the website. One of the things I was hoping to get into was they have a thing called it's a Germantown Spotlight that they put out every Friday about the events happening that weekend and stuff. Unfortunately, it was already full. There was no space in it. So we can try again next year, because that goes out to something like 25,000 people or something like that in the area. It'd be great publicity.
Also, I had a information 8.5 by 11 at the library, posted at the library.
Actually, maybe there's a way, Joe, we can do something in concert with the library. I think they're interested in outreach. Maybe, for instance, if we'd like to do something as a way to get a new class, and maybe they give you some space to teach the class there. Might be a good way to tie it in.
Yeah.
Anybody, any other ideas? Any, like, maybe local? So y'all think maybe we should just do a little more, kind of try to hit up the local governments and see what outreach they have?
Lynn had sent out a press release, and in the past years, I think it was Channel 13 had a reporter that came out, but I tell you, I think all they're doing is doing gunshot wounds and car accidents, and that's it.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
It's definitely nature. I'd like to see us do a better job with our members. I know I hope more of the Neshoba members come out. I think if people have an experience, Field Day is a really good time and something you can really enjoy doing, and give some people that maybe only operate on VHF or UHF an opportunity to try HF. And so hopefully we can build some excitement right within our own groups to get people out to want to be involved with the setup and operation and those things.
Yeah. Hopefully the heat will help us out by having reduced heat.
Yeah, we should just put somebody in charge of that, you know.
Yeah, and I've got a few pictures I'm going to share real quick, and maybe that's something. Yes,
Mary Jean, I'm sorry to interrupt. Did anybody contact the Germantown News?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you, Joe? Did you send them a press release, or did you speak to somebody?
We sent Lynn Grice sent a press release out.
I know the editor, and I've done some work. In fact, I did the article on the Free Fest that was in the Bartlett Express. Germantown News and Bartlett Express are owned by the same folks. So if you let me know and give me enough time, because they're weekly, I can literally walk it over to them.
Okay,
that'd be good.
I've done some freelancing for both the Bartlett Express and the Germantown News. I know both those editors, and they're usually great for running stuff. They just don't have enough hands there to do the kind of reporting that I think most people are used to. So what I usually do is write it up and send it to them. And in the case of the Free Fest, I told them I was going to be there. I shot pictures, I wrote it up, and I think we got front page coverage on that in the Bartlett Express. So I'm happy to do that. We just need to do it ahead of time. Otherwise, you know, it won't do much good other than just putting it out there. And they not only do they have their print, but they have an online edition as well, and they'll put it on there if we give them something to put on there. So,
okay, thank you, Jason.
I've got something I can add if that's okay with everybody?
Yeah.
So bringing all these, the possibility of bringing a lot more people to the thing sounds awesome, but what are all these people going to do once they get there? As far as somebody that's never operated a radio before. I mean, it's nice to stand around and look at people, but I would say a lot of people would probably get very bored with that particular aspect.
Well, the thing to do with somebody that's new to them is have them come over and start off by logging at a station. It's really easy to learn how to log. You learn how to listen, how the whole contacts work and how things change. Voice is the easiest thing, obviously, for people to learn at first. And then after a while of logging, then have them slide over and operate and be the person making the contacts and have somebody there to help them with guidance about when to transmit and things like that. And pretty soon they picked it up and learned it. You just don't stick somebody down and say, go to town. You need to help them.
Because you're saying, so you're thinking that we need to do a better job of pulling our new folks in to get on the air or get to logging, and kind of we need to do more of getting.
What I'm saying is, if, let's say you double the number of people incoming. So yes, you can put people on the logging station, but how many people could you accommodate to those logging stations at one time? Would be the root of my input.
Yeah. And we had 5 stations going, and you got to do logging at each one of them. Maybe the digital will be a little harder to do, but I mean, you can handle quite a few more people than we've had. And people don't have to do it all day. You know, people can rotate through different times. So can we handle a couple hundred people? Probably not, but can we handle more than we're there? Absolutely.
David, thank you for your help.
Yeah. And I really appreciated the folks that helped set up. I mean, yeah. I got to see how to put up antennas, but not only see how to do it, but actually were instrumental in helping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I know, I get what you're saying, David, because I know the first year I went to field day, I think because it was a little different, we were in a different location. There were a lot, I actually went and I was waiting to get on GOTA when there were like 2 or 3 people waiting to get there and everything. And of course we kind of hung out and watched and listened for a while. But I don't know. I mean, I jotted that down and we'll try to kind of brainstorm and see if maybe there's anything that we can do to not only kind of have maybe a little bit more going on, but a little bit better way of getting folks who are there more involved. So that way you don't feel like you're waiting around as much.
Also, if it's networked and there's a screen at the information table, you know, we can go through and show that to where that's showing the logging.
Oh, that's true. That would help do something if we get that set up there next year.
I'll consider that done.
Good. Hey, we've got a video recording of it, so you're locked in now.
Yeah, it'll be easy to do. It's no big deal.
But no, that's a good point. Does anybody else have any more thoughts, suggestions, comments? Because kind of like with anything else, I mean, I know we're getting close to where we're going to start pushing you guys if anybody's interested in running for the board of directors positions. You know, at the end of the day, you know, there's no way that we're going to be able to make everybody happy. We certainly want, you know, our goal is to get and promote amateur radio in the community. When you get down to it, that's what we're here for. And so there's certainly plenty of room for improvement, but there's also only so much that we can do for the people who are doing it. So David, I know you're new. You know, if there's anything interested, you know, that you'd like to try to help out with, you know, we'd love to have your thoughts and opinions and help, and really anybody, even if you've been around for a while. you know, the more, if there's something that you think you might be able to help us with and do a little better, please, you know, let us know. Because there's a lot of stuff I know I'd like to do with us, and you know, do better with outreach and increasing activities and involvement and all that. But at the end of the day, you know, there's only so much time and so much energy. So get involved. We'd love to have you. But all right, so I want to show you guys these pictures real quick. Let's see.
Mary Jean, while you're doing that, one quick question.
Yeah.
When do you do your planning meeting for that year's field day? Is it, I assume, several months in advance, or 6 months, or when does that usually happen?
Fred?
I think we had our planning meeting back in late March, early April was when we can do it. We can obviously move it up to an earlier time frame if we needed to. One of the things that I think happened this year is because we were in the same location as we were last year. We had a lot of things that were working well. We didn't need a whole lot of additional planning. It was kind of refreshing everybody's memory, making a few adjustments that we found from the previous year. So the planning portion, I thought, was quite a bit easier than it had been in prior years. Do you have a thought of when you think we should start the planning?
No, not necessarily. I guess I'm not really sure what goes into the planning, because we're talking about the event itself, but then we're also talking about things like publicity and and that sort of thing. And I didn't know if that was part of the planning meeting, and if so, how early you started thinking about that, because, you know, obviously we've got to figure out what we've got and who we've got, but I just didn't recall hearing that the meetings were going on. So the first I usually hear about it is when it's kind of scheduled and everything seems to be pretty much locked in. So
well, we pulled the group together with representatives from the various clubs. It wasn't a huge group, but a decent number of people. And we talked about all the aspects, including who was going to work on PR and things like that up front. And then we got things pretty well settled. And I think overall, in terms of how things operated, it actually came together pretty darn well this year. You know? And one of the things that was nice, everybody kind of worked together as a team. I was really pleased with that.
So, Jason, are you kind of thinking maybe, and part of that, I mean, I know we didn't dive into too many details in the planning meetings, but are you thinking maybe kind of like as the representative for Delta Club that we do a little bit better job of not just saying like the dates coming up, but who's doing what and really pushing harder to get help with that? Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Yeah, basically. I mean, just that if we need some more folks to, I mean, I know there's usually a call here, you know, field day, it's the same day every year, and we need people to do the, you know, the things, the standard stations. So when I hear about it, it's usually this, and I'm just, again, not speaking for everybody, just from what I've seen, it's usually the standard stuff. You know, we're going to work these stations, there's going to be phone, there's going to be digital, and that's great. And that sounds like that you had all that covered. I guess I was just wondering, when we're talking about suggestions and maybe doing other things publicity wise, or other, you know, if there is a chance for or a need for some other input or other help, it would, if there's an opportunity to do that in advance and we knew when it was, then that would be something that, you know, that's all I'm thinking. But I also don't want to overcomplicate it, because if it's designed to be streamlined and have, you know, a certain number of folks, then that's fine too. I don't think I had ever heard the background and how it was planned and how that whole thing is put together. So
yeah,
a lot of the details actually go to the station managers, because we talk about who's going to be in charge of each station and what bands they're going to operate in. And so they work to line up the equipment and everything that's needed to make those stations work. So a lot of the very detailed stuff about what's going to be brought and how it's going to all fit together go to the station managers. So there's actually a relatively few number of kind of overall issues. So when we do the planning, we decide about how many stations we're going to have, who the station managers are, and that portion gets put onto the station managers. And then we talk about the overall things like food and PR and those things. And we try to do that several months in advance.
That's good. Yeah. And if I guess then my next question / suggestion would just be if, you know, while I'm glad we're kind of getting some ideas now, it would also be if you need some folks to chime in or volunteer for those other things that aren't purely station managing things, like manning this station or that, this, you know, whenever if it's feasible to do without complicating things. And I understand you get too many cooks in the soup and all of a sudden it gets really complicated, but if you need if you need some of those other folks, it would be good when you're doing the planning just to shout out and let everybody know, hey, we're planning and we're having a meeting or Zoom or however you want to do that. And then we can, you know, because there are some things with publicity that I'm happy to help with. But again, I just didn't know. And
well, for instance, one of the things, Jason, that might make sense is to have separately some publicity meetings where there's a team working specifically on that. We have an overall meeting that talks about the role of publicity and what we'd like to accomplish. And then there's a group that actually does the work.
There you go. I think you're right. I think you've got it. I think that's the way to do it. Because, and I mean, if to the earlier point, I think David said about, you know, if you want to attract more people, then you've got to think about, well, what's the user experience, right? What someone who may have heard about ham radio, but has shown up, doesn't know anything from anything. There's a bunch of tents, you know, what's the experience? Who are they talking to? Because when I wasn't there this year, I was out of town, but the year that I was there, I was over at John's booth. And there were a bunch of people that came up asking questions that were just, I don't know that they were, John, you may correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe they were just, I don't know if they'd heard about it. I never got a sense, but they were asking some great questions. And we even had one guy from Shelby County EMA that came out and was talking to us at the booth. And we've since, you know, kept in contact with him. And he was asking some good questions. So something like that to kind of get a sense of if people are coming up who aren't already ham operators or aren't already started down the path, you know, some idea about how they get out there and what they get out of it. And I think that wouldn't be a bad idea to think about ahead of time as well. And I mean, we'll talk about it now, but you know, when the rubber meets the road is when you all are planning how many stations and all that good stuff. So.
Right.
Yeah. Now that's a good point. Yes.
I was just going to ask, are we pretty well locked into Germantown having that pavilion for us?
Fred?
Well, we've done it in 2 different locations in Germantown. We did it over by the horse show grounds there, which I think worked out well. That's where we had the kitchen available. There's a facility there called the Pickering Center, which we had ability to use. 2 years ago, they were having a horse show going on, and so we couldn't use it. We moved to where we are now is called Municipal Park, and that pavilion there is part of that. That we had this year. We didn't have a choice again because they were going to have a horse show. And then it turned out about 10 days before field day, they canceled the horse show. But we were set with the park there. One of the things I think that's good about the municipal park is it's very accessible. It's right in the middle of the town. You get more traffic by it, if you will, than the other one is called Morgan Woods. That's over there on Poplar Pike. But if we like one or the other better, we certainly can try to work for it. I believe the fire department is actually technically the sponsor for us and allows us the use of the site. And for instance, the park's supposed to close down. Well, it doesn't close down for us and things like that. But I don't know if anybody has a strong preference between the locations, but we can see which one we can get.
Well, my understanding is we're down the list on the one by the horse show, but what I'm saying is, how do we not find ourselves going in next year and finding out we don't have either.
Well, one of the things we can certainly do is talk with the folks at Parks and Rec about reserving that space for us, especially if we want to go back to the municipal park. We can do that with a great deal of lead time with it. And so we can contact them and see if that's something that they're willing to do. I think there's a good chance that they would. The other facility, the horse show, has a priority. So if anything else is scheduled and they have it come in, that the other things are wiped out. So we are at their mercy. But if we like where we are, we can, this week we could contact them and see if we can lock it in for next year.
The horse show arena has an option of giving you 2 weeks notice not to show up, from what I understand. So that is not really a favorable situation at all.
Yeah. Although the good news is generally the horse shows are scheduled fairly far in advance. Sometimes they get canceled for one reason or another. That's a short-term thing, but they almost never just turn up at the last minute because there's so much logistics that goes into the horse shows. They can't just decide, oh, we're going to have one 2 weeks from now. It doesn't work that way.
So I guess it depends. What do y'all think? I mean, do we want to try to see if, and I guess this also depends with some of the other clubs, but do we want to try to maybe assume or lock in the spot where we're at, or do we want to still try to go for the other location? And then,
I had no problem with where we were this year and the last year. Worked out good for me.
Except your little accident there.
Yeah.
Which for those who didn't make it out this year and last year, what we keep talking about is there was a spot on the sidewalk where a lot of mud settled and he had slipped while he was putting his antenna up. And the good thing about where we're at is that I think it was the Germantown Fire Department maybe, or at least the city actually went in after that and installed a drain in that corner and put in some sod in that area. So I was personally impressed to see, and I know what they're trying to avoid, but I was impressed to see that they did go in and actually make a permanent solution for that spot. So I thought that was pretty neat. Of course, I guess that's at either location, but it was neat to see that. So
they're serious about safety.
Yeah.
Didn't they change the air conditioned building up from a few years back site, make office space or something that didn't have the kitchen like we used before? Heard it somewhere.
In Germantown, a site?
Where the horse show is.
Pickering Center.
Change that building up.
There's a building there that's called the Pickering Center that's right up on Poplar Pike there. The horse show grounds are actually back further on the property. That's still the same place. They've actually made a few upgrades in the interior and stuff, but it's still the same basic building it was.
Okay, I'd heard they changed up some office space or something, which if we didn't have that facility, the new place is much better, I think, overall.
I personally liked it. I mean, I really liked having that kitchen facility. And it was nice to have all that shade and everything, but I don't know. I mean, both locations I've been impressed with, and I was happy at the new spot. Seems like a little better with traffic and kind of being central. But,
Can I get some sort of exemption to bring my pop-up camper? It doesn't take up much space. I'll put it in the parking lot.
They have restrictions on what you can do overnight there. And that's something I know that Jelly worked on for us, and they wouldn't allow it. Now at the other site, you can.
Right.
In fact, they have some trailer hookups.
Right.
Yeah. That is one downside.
I'd like to second what John said, because I was going to bring out my camper just for the day, and but I tell you, to me, that's what I want to do on field day. Is I want to operate out of my camper. I want to have a shack in my camper, and just like I did at Winterfield Day, I sat in the park in Collierville, and that, to me, that's my thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd love to just be able to set that thing up for the day at Germantown or wherever, and not necessarily operate inside air-conditioned comfort while everybody's sitting outside dying, but just to have the camper available, because I've been setting that thing up to be a radio shack, and you know. It's not a great radio shack with the air conditioner running and a generator anyway because of all the interference. But I just second what John had to say.
Could they do both? Could you set some up at where you could put the trailer at the Pickering Center and then use where we were this last 2 years? Or is that spread out too far?
You have to. That would be two different sites, location. There's a radius of, I think, like 1,000 feet that everything has to be within.
Yeah.
I think you want to keep it all you know, that it's an event in one location. Yeah. So.
Well, and there's something to be said for the camaraderie. So.
I agree. So here's kind of switching back to what David said about, you know, what can we do to get more people involved? Do you, and Bill sent this, and I think it's actually a good point to consider. So some of the other contacts had more stations operating than we did. Do we want to try to pull in some additional people to run additional stations? Is that something that would be, you know, something worth considering? If so, like maybe what frequencies? What's the thought on that?
I mean, I don't object to it. It's just we got to have enough operators and enough equipment.
We haven't had enough operators with the 4A category that we have now.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be nice to have a problem with too many operators, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah, try finding CW operators now.
Well, apparently Paul was interested in that, and we got Carolyn now. If we can get her back out next year, so you might have a few backup people, Pat.
That's good. Having more people operating digital overnight so that I can get a break, but you know, in years past that's just not really been the case. So having enough operators and enough equipment, there's nothing stopping us from going to a bigger class.
Well, and that's a good point too, because I remember several years ago staying at, and this was my first field day then, but staying out till like 11 or 12 or 1 or something. It was very late, and there were quite a few people at each station still rotating out. So is that something where we just need to start reaching out? You know, do we need to have the station managers try to start reaching out to get more folks, or is that something we just collectively need to push? Because I feel like kind of with anything else, with us just announcing it, I don't feel like we're getting as much as, you know, putting a few folks together and starting to call or tap on the shoulders.
I think that should be more up to the station manager, because each station manager has things they're looking for. Like having a CW operator on FT8 isn't going to do any good. You know, so Pat would reach out to folks that can do CW. I would reach out to people that can do digital. You know, Fred, you would reach out to people that could do voice.
Speak. Hurdle to get over.
But yeah, so I think that would fall more on the station manager.
Okay.
If you want more operators, all you got to do is do a giveaway. You come in, you make 10 contacts, your name goes in the hat, and you get a jackery. I don't know.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Maybe not a jackery, but
some kind of reward. Yeah, I like that idea.
I do.
So, I'm sorry.
Door prizes for next year.
And I'll mention this then, because something I thought about this year, but I did not have the time to do it. And I also don't think it would have been right. Like, it could have been better getting involved with the stations. But I even thought about, like, for our new people, doing like a scavenger hunt and have a sheet, like a checklist pretty much, where they have to go to each station and either ask certain questions that the station managers would already know the answer to, or say, complete 10 contacts or log 20 contacts or 5 or whatnot at each station. So, I mean, would we want to try to do something maybe like that and then do a door prize out of those people who complete that to get more involved? Or do we just want to do that for anybody who can help? I like the door prize idea. I mean, we've got, surely we can come up with something neat to give away. But what do y'all think? Everybody got quiet now. I know it's late.
I think it's a good idea.
I think we're going to have a lot of planning to do for next year's field day.
Yeah. And I know this is late. I know we've been talking about this for a while. We've lost quite a few people, but we still have a good chunk here. But for everybody who has stayed with us and who has given feedback, it really does help, because when we don't hear anything, we can't do anything better. Yep. And so certainly appreciate everybody being candid with us and offering their honest opinions, because we can, it'd be nice to see this turn into a really cool event, and it is a cool event. So I don't want to, but it's a better event that we can do and all that. So
I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but with the idea that you tossed out at the beginning of the meeting of more inter-club activities, would we want to undertake winter field day?
I don't
Winter
know.
field day is the weekend of Jackson, Mississippi Ham Fest.
Okay.
Well, but how many people do we have that, and I'm not saying we need to commit to it, but how many, do we have a lot of people in this area who go to that? You do? Okay. Tom.
Rick goes, Barry goes. Barry, you go, don't you?
I have. It's not a regular thing.
Tom, you go, don't you?
That's just a thought. I know Olive Branch does it.
Well, we could talk about it and see, and especially as we get a little bit closer to Tom. So, but I don't know. We could try to work out some of the issues if we did something like that, or it might not hurt to even start talking about some things earlier than we are. I don't know. But anyway, real quick, so I'll show, because I know it is getting pretty late. So I'm just going to do a quick thing of these photos. So here's a few. I did not take as many as I would have liked. So this is the pavilion, and that wire antenna was the GOTA station antenna. Of course, that's John's station. You can see his antenna set up and everything. And then we did put, and thanks to David and Joe, we got the sign hung up on Germantown Parkway. So I know one thing, it was hard for a second to kind of figure out where we could hang it, but there's a lot of traffic on Germantown Parkway. And so we were able to get that sign up at the entrance to the park. Here's the front end to where, here's the front end to where John's station was. So you can see he was running on solar power with everything a little bit closer with his setup. Here's over in the satellite area. So it was kind kind of the popular spot to be earlier in the day, it looks like. But he was over there working hard with everybody. Of course, another picture of the pavilion. There's Fred's station with what he was doing on HF. Let's see, 20 meters, I mean. Let's see. And then we have Steve with Dan and Janet. And then CW. So, all right, so real quick, let me play those videos. All right, so Tom sent us this link. And so thank you, Tom. And then we can also watch one real quick that Steve made. But Tom had his drone there and was going around doing different different things. All right. Can y'all hear that okay? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
I guess I didn't think about narrating it, but that's Steve's station down there. All right, so thank you, Tom, for making that. And then we've got one.
I got a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing happened when I played it back on Zoom for the Neshoba meeting yesterday. Everybody said it was jerky and skipping. If you take my link that goes directly to my YouTube page, it's 1080p and it's smooth as glass. Something about Zoom, it can't take the bandwidth, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, let me real quick, because I have the links here. So here's the link for Tom's. And then I'm going to go on. We're about to watch this real quick, but I'm going to go on and show. Here's the link for Steve. So if you were interested because I don't know if you'll be able to see the chat or not. I don't know if you'll be able to see it later on in the video. So if you are interested in having this, I'm sure we can get, I'll tell you what, I'll put both on Facebook. I think I've already shared Steve's, but I'll go and put them both on our Facebook page. But if not, also copy them and save them off this chat. So here is, well, we got an ad on Steve's. So we'll give it, of course. All right. So here's the one that he did.
64 Echo Mike, 64 Echo Mike. Whiskey 4 Echo Mike. Whiskey 4 Echo Mike. Whiskey 4 Echo Mike. Or Alpha Tennessee. Or Alpha Tennessee. We copy 4 Alpha Tango November. We are 5 Foxers on a 5 Foxers on a.
All right, so I thought it was pretty neat. Let's see. I thought it was pretty neat to see like 2 different videos where we had the overview of everything with Tom's and then like the close-up work with Steve. So again, shout out and thanks for sharing that with us, y'all, because I know it's hard to, when you're doing everything, it's hard to stop and take pictures and all that. So thank you guys for doing that. All right. Well, does anybody have anything else that we need to talk about or discuss? All right. Well, like I said earlier, I certainly appreciate you guys sticking with us. We've got a pretty good group still, and I know it's super late. So there's going to be a lot. I know Carolyn's going to be busy writing these minutes for this long meeting, but thank you everybody who offered some feedback. So I know I took a whole lot of notes, and there's a lot of things I'm going to try to work on to see what we can do better. And then I know there's a lot we can do. And I think there's enough folks here who want to see it improve. And again, not saying it's bad, but, you know, to see if we can do anything better. And it all starts with your feedback. So thank you all for sticking with us. And is there any objection to adjourning? All right, hearing none. Joe made the motion to adjourn. If there's no objection, we are adjourned at 9:18 p.m.
We gone.